Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. We are live. And by the way, could you hear me okay, John?
I hear you
I don't
great.
sound any different to you.
You sound wonderful to
Wow.
me. Never sounded this good.
Wow. I guess I'm going to keep my mask on then.
Okay.
You think I should?
If you're wearing a mask, I'll eat this program if you're wearing a mask.
I'm a little concerned. I'm in this studio room all by myself, but I'm concerned. I think I should wear the mask.
I think you should too.
Yeah. I think the only
and social distance.
Yeah.
While you're at
that's what I'm saying. I mean, we are social distance. I mean, you're about what, 1,000 miles from me?
I'm in New York, upstate New York, so I
think we've social distanced enough then.
Yes, I do. I think we passed the social distance.
All right, I'm going to take this silly mask off then. Even though I'm a little bit worried though, but if you think it's safe, I'll
That is safe. Sorry, but go ahead.
All right, we have a Belmont Park show for you today, and a couple of races, stakes races coming up. The main race is going to be the Grade 1 Metropolitan Handicap, also known as the Met Mile. So that's going to come up as far as our second race. Our first race is going to be the Poker. That's a Grade 3 race, also from Belmont Park. The racing schedule for July 4th includes 3 additional grade stakes. Well, you have you got one other Grade 1 race. That's the Manhattan. And you have the Grade 2 Suburban and the Grade 3 Victory Ride. So those are the races that we will not be doing on the show today. And then next week, we are going to have a lot of races to choose from. We have Del Mar has 2 races in their opening. They open on Friday, John. Del Mar.
They do. Unusual.
And so we'll have 2 stakes races. Del Mar on Saturday the 11th. Belmont has the Ruffian also on Saturday, but a big day at Keeneland. So we'll have 6 stakes races, including 3 Grade 1s, the Ashland, the Jenny Wiley, and the Madison, and also the Grade 2 Bluegrass. So I think we're going to have
plenty of options.
And by the way, I was going through our schedule. Right now, we are going to be busy all the way through to the Breeders' Cup every single Friday that we'll be on the air. How about that?
That sounds great.
All right, let's get right to it. Grade 3 Poker. This race.
By the way, before we start, just a little disclaimer here. These selections are made for, like, the Poker is scheduled to be run on the turf.
Okay.
And I would say it's like 90% that they'll run, even if the rain comes that they're expecting. But they are expecting weather this evening in New York. It's supposed to rain through the night. But, again, this is a graded stake, and chances are that they're leaving it on the turf.
Okay,
but,
so that means...
just tell everyone that my selections or whatever we give out here, it's for a turf.
Yes.
If the race comes off the grass, there's no selection.
Yeah, that's because It's All Relevant would be a big favorite if he was allowed to race, right?
Right. He's entered for main track only, so it's going to scratch unless if the race comes off the grass and stays on the turf.
And by the way, we also want to remind everybody, I should probably remind everybody every week, that what this show is about is finding value picks. Now, we're not going to just say, you know what, like a couple of weeks ago when you had the favorite with the second or third choice, but it still paid $20 in the exacta. We tried to find value.
That was 'Tis the Law.
Yes. Was that the Belmont? Okay,
yes,
so we tried to find value, but bottom line is you're not going to force it. If you like something if you don't like the value and you're just going to go with what you think is going to be a winner, even if it only pays $20, that's going to be the deal. But for the most part, we're always going to try to find value. And when you do that, your percentages will be lower. So just keep that in mind. But over the course of a few months, the payouts will end up being a lot better. So
you will show a profit, hopefully.
If
you look for value and you avoid playing chalk,
that's right.
You have an opportunity to come out ahead of the game.
Yes, this is not the Prime Sports Chalk Report. This is the Prime Sports Horse Report. Okay.
There you
Now,
go.
this is when I look at this race, I'm looking at, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe I'm looking at a 3-horse race. You got Valid Points, a 7-2 shot. He's the 2. You have the 7, Got Stormy, a 7-2 shot. And you got the 9, Value Proposition, a 5-2 shot. I say that because the 2, he's only had one bad race out of 3. And we always talk about in any sport, including horse racing, of course, that you have one bad race, you draw a line through it. If you do that, you see a completely different horse. So Valid Point is a very good horse if you draw out that last race. Then you have the 7, Got Stormy. And what's interesting about Got Stormy is that in 1 mile races, which this race is, he has been in the money 14 of 15 times in his career at this distance. So that's pretty incredible. Also, if you take a look at Got Stormy in his last 3 races this year, he's only had one pretty good race. That was the 7. Well, that 7 was at a mile. If you take a look at all his races last year, they were pretty much all at a mile, and they all ranged like 4, 5, 6s. So that's why Got Stormy at a mile is a horse you want to keep an eye on. And Value Proposition, the favorite of the race, if you draw a line through the grade 3 race, which by the way is the only race that he actually tried for the lead and just didn't hit. The other 3 races, he went from a 14 to an 11 to an 8, and those were races where he closed. So I'm assuming he's going to close in the race tomorrow. So it's a 3-horse race. Am I wrong?
Completely. But it's all right. I love you anyway.
All right, break it all down, John.
Okay, so what you did was you gave me 3 horses that all figure. They all certainly have a chance, but you actually misread a couple of these horses. Okay. The first one that you misread was a horse named Valid Point.
2.
He's 7-2. Yes, 7-2 morning line. He hasn't been out since last September, or last October 5th, I should say.
First race of the year.
If you look at this, that was his last race last year, correct. But if you look at his sheet, he ran a 7, then he took off almost 3 months or 2.5 months. He made a backward move to an 8. There was no reason for him to go backwards. Then he took more time off and he made another backward move. So it's really a horse going in the wrong direction.
Do you think that's why he's gotten this extra time out, by the way?
It could be. But guess what? He's going to be one of the choices, and I don't want to guess if he's okay or not.
Yeah, I agree.
I'd rather play at a short price.
I'm with you.
Okay, now let's take a look at Seismic Wave. Nothing wrong with this horse. He's 8-1. He worked his way down to a 9 last year, came out this year, ran a 9 first race out. He's a 4-year-old. You know, he's allowed to get better. He certainly can repeat the 9 or make a forward move.
Aren't you a little bit concerned with Mott at this meet so far?
No, he had 1 or 2 yesterday, and today he's fine. He started off slow.
Okay.
Yeah, I understand looking at the 2 for 36, but that's not even the horse which I like best. Okay. The horse which I like clearly best in the race is the next horse.
Social Paranoia. A Pletcher horse.
Okay.
Okay.
A Pletcher horse. He had a 7 last year as a 3-year-old. He came out as a 4-year-old. First 2 races this year was a 7 and a 7. So that's very strong. The 12 that he ran last time out was on a soft turf with no rest off of the 7, so he figured to react. But now he has enough time. And if he makes that forward move to the 7, which he's going to do tomorrow, you know, there's not many horses in this race that you can guarantee he's going to run a 7. But I'm telling you, this horse is going to run the 7. Another problem, by the way, with another horse you mentioned that's going to be a short price is Got Stormy. Okay. Last year, he had a bunch of 4s and a bunch of 5s. Yes. This year, as a 5-year-old, all she could do was work her way down to a 7. Yes. And even off of the 7, she reacted. So this horse is really negative, in my opinion.
And maybe the best days are behind him.
Exactly. The hard races that she ran last year obviously have taken its toll. She's not the same horse that she was this year as she was last year. You know, I'd like to see her run at Saratoga again, and I'm sure she will in a few weeks, because that's last year where she ran those really good races. The 6 and the 5, her first 2 big efforts.
Oh, yeah.
Her first which made her a star.
Runner up
Really,
in the
with
Breeders'
those
Cup Mile. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
right. So all those races last year, she's not showing us the same this year.
Okay.
So for that reason, I'd like her to show me some life before I'm willing to back her, especially due to the fact she's going to be a short price.
Okay.
So that was the knock I had with that horse. And then finally, Value Proposition, who's the favorite. He's the morning line favorite anyway. She's listed at 5-2. Well, he's listed, I should say, at 5-2. Last time out was the best race he ever ran. He ran an 8.
Yeah.
So now why am I going to guess that he's going to mmove forward off of that 8 or repeat it?
Is that just the combination? He's getting all that credit because of Ortiz and Brown?
Yeah, and he's getting the credit off of winning 2 races in a row. Yeah. However, he's drawn outside and he's going to be the favorite. Why would you bet this horse over a horse like Social Paranoia that already showed you he could run 7s? This horse has never run a 7. That's why Social Paranoia is my top selection in the race. And again, I'm not taking anything away from your selections. They all certainly have a chance.
Well,
but I'm looking for you. And
I was just saying, I was just pointing out that the 3 horses that I thought were the 3 favorites.
Yeah, well, they are the favorites. I mean,
I hadn't made a pick yet. I was just saying that those are the favorites. I think it's a 3-horse race with those favorites, but I don't.
I apologize.
No, that's okay. But it wasn't like one of that was my problem was before I was going to get into it was the fact that you did have 3 similar favorites that really, when you get that, it's kind of hard, and that's why it's important to find other horses like you just did, because I'd rather find a bargain than to just say, okay, maybe I'll get lucky and pick the right horse out of these 3.
Yeah, but also when you're going to bet a favorite, you really should, try to make them as close to a sure thing as possible. Obviously, nothing is sure, but you want as few chinks in the armor as possible when you're making a case for a short price horse. If you're making a case for a longer price horse, obviously it's not going to be as easy to do because he's 20-1 for a reason. Sure. Obviously there are holes in this, and you have to be willing to excuse bad races. That's how you find value.
And by the way, anything at all on this Dream Friend, the 8-1, the 1, he ran a 7 last year. He wants to lead, so he's always going to be up front. And he's been in the money over the last, 6 races, including 3 for 3 at Belmont and 3 for 3 at this distance and 6 for 6 on turf.
Yeah, and the trainer's having a good meet. He looks to be a little slower, unless you're going to guarantee me he's running that 7 that he ran at Saratoga last year. Yeah, he's like other horses in the race.
Yeah, maybe it's one of those horses that maybe if he has the lead and the pace kind of works in his favor, then maybe he gets in the money.
Exactly, and if the price is low, if he's really 8-1, I would include this horse in the tries or supers with whoever.
I think it will be because you have those 3 horses that are all going to be getting the same amount of money, and then you have Social Paranoia at 4-1. So, what do you think your horse is going to end up?
Well, first of all, you have high-profile trainers in this race. You have Chad Brown, who has 1 horse. How many horses does he have? At least 2. Yeah, he's got 2 horses here. You have Mark Cassie. You got Mott. You got all high profile. Yeah, Pletcher, exactly. You have Hall of Fame guys. So those horses are going to. Hopefully, my horse will be around 4-1, and that's what I'm expecting.
Okay, so you're going to go with Social Paranoia, and
correct. A win bet on him if he's anywhere near the 4-1.
Okay. All right. Let's move on.
Who did you like?
If I had to pick one right now. If they all wind up, first of all, I'm not taking anybody that's 3-1 or less. So if I get 4-1, I would prefer to go with Valid Point, the 2.
Okay.
That's my preference. I'm hoping I can get 4-1 or better. Okay.
Okay, I hear and I see.
Let's now talk about a really good race, the Met Mile. This is going to go off about.
By the way, the poker race is a really good race too, but you're right. The 9th race is the the highlight of the day, supposedly. So let's see.
Yeah, and we'll start with a horse that I think is a pretty intriguing horse, and that is the one Network Effect. He's a 8-1 shot. That's the reason I like him. I like the fact that when you take, he's again another horse that's had one bad race. If you draw the line to that bad race, the Cigar Mile Handicap, this horse has been in the money the other 7 times in his career. And what I also like is if we look at it, he doesn't run a lot. So this is now going to be the most when he races on Saturday. It's going to be the most he's ever raced in his career. So he's only 4 years old. And I like the fact that he's getting better with each race. 8, 7, 6. So I got Chad Brown and Ortiz combination. So this is the horse that I want to put with one of the favorites and hope I can get an exacta.
Nothing wrong with this horse. The line is certainly nice. He's never done anything wrong. And the 10 that he ran in the Cigar Mile, that was without any rest off of the race that he ran prior to that. So you see how these horses need time where they're going to react. Horses just don't keep moving forward. That's a little bit the problem with this horse because he hasn't done anything wrong this year. 8, 7, 6. The only problem is that he's now making his 4th start of the year, something he's never done in his career, and he may react off of it. However, if he's 8-1, I also would include him in underneath, certainly with whatever horse I decide to bet. Problem with this race is that you're going to have to run a 3 or better.
There's some good ones. And now look, Vacoma, the number 2, is this the classic bounce race?
Well, where's he going off? He ran less than a 0. He ran a minus number, which you very rarely see.
That's as perfect as a race as you can race, and he only did it a month ago, 4 weeks.
Exactly. At 5-2, I want to play against this horse. Can he win? Of course he could win. But chances are he's more likely to run a 4 or a 5 than repeat that number. That's for sure.
Yeah, and then we've got the 3, McKenzie, and this is the favorite of the race. You got Baffert and Smith. It is his second. He finished second in this race last year, so keep that in mind. And
he should have won the race also, by the way. I remember I was at the track. He had so much trouble in that race. He got in all kinds of trouble. He was clearly the best horse in the race.
Okay.
So that doesn't mean anything because, he's going to be the favorite. But he deserves to be the favorite because basically any race he runs,
he's going to finish first or second.
Right. The race he ran 2 starts back was in Dubai.
We don't care about that. That's a classic draw line through race.
Right. You could absolutely draw a line through that race. And then the race last year at Santa Anita was a 1.25 miles. It was the British Cup Classic. So you could, he doesn't want to go that far. Around 1 turn, this horse is very tough. He's going to run anywhere between a 2 and a 0, I think. And again, it's a case of taking the favorite and trying to make a lot more than the odds he's going to be on the straight end, and possibly making an exacta hookup with a horse like you like Network Effect, or maybe you got to try to find some value. Right. Maybe Mr. Freaks, who's 8-1.
Well, let's go ahead and I tell you what. Let's talk about the other co-favorite first. That's Code of Honor. He's the second choice, Code of Honor. He's the number 5 to 3-1 shot. He's been excellent at Belmont Park. He won the Grade 1 Travers at Saratoga. He won the Fountain of Youth at Gulfstream Park. He's had some big wins. He had the disqualification win at the Jockey Club Gold Cup at Belmont. He's run 5s, but he hasn't run anything like McKenzie, and the odds are not much different.
No, and you know what? You can look at Vacoma's sheet also. He's more like Vacoma's odds than McKenzie. McKenzie is clearly faster than Code of Honor or Vacoma, except Vacoma's last race, which I don't think he's running tomorrow. The way that I would attack this race personally is to bet against Vacoma.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, you have to. And then Code of Honor, that's the thing. You got he's the only other favorite that we just have to hope doesn't end up with a strong run. So
the problem is you can run a 5 off of this line easily.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's
we just have to hope. This is what we were. That's what I was talking about at the beginning. we could sit here and go, all right, we're going to take the 2-to-1 shot and the 3-to-1 shot, and we're going to pair it
Right.
together, and then we're going to look like geniuses when they win. That's not what this show is about. We're hoping Code of Honor doesn't wind up with a good race. He's more than, I mean, look, chances are he will, but we're hoping network effect. And I tell you what, also, how about the 4? Hog Creek Hustle. He's got 2 4s on his resume.
Yeah, but there are sprinting. How about Mr. Freeze? He's 8-to-1. He has a shot. He ran a 4. He could run a 4 off of that line.
The other good thing about Hog Creek's 4 is it happened in his only race at Belmont Park.
Yeah. Well, he has a 4 at Santa Anita. He has a 4 at Belmont too. But those races are sprinting. Now he's going long, but he does have the 3 races back at Gulfstream this year. That's a mile race that he ran the 7
and he's 30-to-1. That's the whole thing.
He's 30. That's the beauty of the horse. Is he going to win? Probably not. Is he going to get it? But he belongs somewhere.
Nice trifecta, right? If we can get him in the trifecta, if we can get McKinsey, Network Effect, and Hog Creek Hustle in a trifecta, I think we would be doing pretty well, considering McKinsey would win.
No question about it.
All right, what about 6, 7, 8? You say the 7, Mr. Freeze, is the way to go if you were taking either of those 3 horses?
Yeah, if you go, yes. Only again, he's another one that's a big price. Well, hold on, let me get it.
Mr. Freeze ran a 6 his last time out. He ran a 2 in February.
Right. So,
which is nice.
For him to run a 4 wouldn't be a biggest shock in the world.
And he's 8-to-1. That's a nice number.
Exactly.
Well, who do you like better then, the 1 or the 7?
Well, the 1's line is nicer, but the 7's going to be twice the price of the 1 because the 1 is Chad Brown and Ortiz.
Okay.
7, that's why I think you'll get a lot longer price on this. Right now, if I had to bet who would be longer, I'd bet the 7 would be a much longer price than the 1. 7 will be twice the price of the 1. Believe me.
All right, so we're going to hope for the 1, the 4, and the 7 to finish second. 2 of the 3 horses to finish second or third.
Or even one of them, if you're betting exact, is with McKenzie. I think I'm surrendering the race to McKenzie. I think he's going to win.
Agreed.
And then, right, okay, then we'll shop for value. But we gave you ideas for everyone listening. That's it. And that's all we could do.
That's all. And then next week, every Thursday, that's when we're scheduled to have your little mini reports, right?
It's a 5-minute report on what we're going to be discussing Friday night with the possibility of the races, that'll be available on the weekend, on Saturday for us.
And we'll recap races if they're important enough. Because keep in mind, the Met Mile is a Breeders' Cup Challenge race. So that's a...
Oh, believe me. Well, by Thursday, we should have we will have the numbers up of the last week's races if you like to review them and see how wrong or right you were.
And then, of course, as we said at the Open, we'll have some races next Saturday, including 6 races to choose from Keeneland. John, I appreciate it as always. Go eat, and I will talk to you soon.
All right, Greg. Thanks so much. Be well. Stay safe, my friend.
Take care.
Talk to you next week.